I'm Mike Uyak. I love to try new things, and I've had culinary adventures all around the world as well as right at home. I've had really wonderful food, as well as some really horrible food. I'd like to share some of my adventures with you, and we'll see if I have what it takes to fix whatever goes wrong. This is Recipe Redemption.
Hi everyone, Mike Uyak here for Recipe Redemption. Today is Thanksgiving 2018, and I'd like to take a moment to just give thanks for all the wonderful food that there is out there. And in particular, the plethora of specialty and ethnic markets that are in the city of Seattle. And that allow me to try all sorts of really amazing new foods whenever I feel like it, and whenever I've got the money for it. To that end, I got snacks. So, getting some ingredients for the dishes that I'm bringing to Thanksgiving dinner this year. I couldn't help myself. I had to stop off at the Asian grocery store for a couple of the ingredients that I was going to need, and while I was there, I happened to pass through the snack aisle, and I couldn't help myself. So, I'm going to try a few of them. But first, my sister decided, we're going to my sister's for Thanksgiving, and she decided that we were going to have a colonial style Thanksgiving. So, they're having smoked turkey, she's actually making syllabub, which is sort of a frothy punch. I think it's got whipped egg whites in it. I'm not sure, but I believe it does. Now things like having succotash, and instead of the usual cylinder of canned cranberry jelly, she's actually doing a cranberry pork conserve. All sorts of interesting things. So I said, okay, colonial era Thanksgiving meal would not be complete without eels. So I will bring the eels. Now, at the time, and since since the colonial era, eels have been enjoyed in England and the English colonies afterwards in a pie, an eel pie, either jellied eels or in a pie. And what it usually ends up being is more like a pot pie. It doesn't have a bottom crust. It's sort of a eel-based stew, fish stew. Very light on the vegetables, and the fish stock that you end up with, you thicken it a little bit with some cream, and flavor it with thyme and a bit of sherry. But it ends up being a very soupy sort of fish stew with a pastry crust on top. And if you bring that to Thanksgiving, I did that one year. Just as kind of a gag, and nobody ate any. Well, a couple people ate some, but it's kind of messy because it is basically soup, and you're trying to put it onto a plate with your turkey and gravy and mashed potatoes and stuffing. It's messy. So what I did instead, I stewed the eels. I actually took the time to I skinned them and actually filleted them, which is not fun. I then stewed the bones and skins to make a nice rich fish stock. Then strained all of that out and threw in the eel fillets that I had cut into about 1-inch portions, along with the aforementioned sherry and cream, and some mixed vegetables, and let that simmer down, and then thicken it with just a little bit of a cornstarch slurry because I cheat. And what I did instead of making the pot pie, which like I said was messy, was I made the pie dough, portioned them out and rolled them out into about 6-inch rounds, and put a spoonful of, made sure there was a piece of eel and some vegetables and a spoonful of the cooled and now kind of congealed sauce You can almost call it a gravy. And then folded it up into basically a soup dumpling, but with pie crust instead of a dumpling wrapper. And instead of steaming it like a soup dumpling, like xiao long bao, I baked it because it's pie crust. And I'm reasonably proud of my pie crust, so I'm okay with the fact that there's almost 3/4 of an inch of pie crust on the top, because basically when you wrap this up, you pinch the top together, you crimp it around, and you keep going around until you've sealed the top. Well, what that ends up doing is having multiple layers of pie crust on top. But I make a decent pie crust. And despite the rather strong fishy smell that kind of filled the house while I was stewing them, the finished dish is actually not super fishy, but sort of torn away. You can see in the center there's a nice chunk of fish right there. Good fishy flavor, a little bit of vegetables just so you don't feel too guilty about eating this, even though the pie crust is loaded with butter. But I think that's actually going to be, well, I won't say popular, because people have to actually try it in order for it to be popular. The other thing that I thought that I would do is, because a lot of people, well, let's say half of the people hate that baked mashed sweet potato dish with the pecans and the marshmallows on top. It's just too, for me, it's too sickly sweet. I'll say I'm one of those people. It's too sickly sweet. They put like maple syrup and stuff on there. It's just, it's too much. They're already sweet. You don't need to add more sugar on top of it. But to skirt that issue entirely, what I did was I incorporated some cooked mashed sweet potatoes into butterflake rolls. Nice fluffy layers that come apart easily, very buttery. Not a whole lot of sweet potato flavor. I'm a little disappointed in that, but they're decent butterflake rolls. So I'm not going to complain too much. Now, moving on to my stop at the Asian market. Now, I stopped for the eels. That was the one place that I knew for certain I would be able to get freshwater eels. But while I was there, I picked up some snacks. And first ones that I'm going to do are ones that I'm already familiar with. So this is a tea egg. And as the name implies, it is a hard-boiled egg that they then soaked in tea. They cracked the shell and soaked it in tea. And what ends up happening, and they also have like soy sauce eggs, where, as the name implies, they crack the shell and soak the hard-boiled egg in soy sauce. Those tend to be, as you might imagine, a little salty. This is now peeled. It kind of looks like it has veins, but basically allows the tea to permeate the white of the egg. And even a little bit of the yolk. I think they may have put a little bit of soy or something else in there. The packaging was actually very sparsely marked, so they didn't really say much about it. They just said tea eggs. There you go. So I don't know, but there's definitely a little bit of a saltiness, sort of an umami flavor that is above and beyond what the egg itself has. Otherwise, I mean, it's a hard-boiled egg. The other one that I picked up was this guy. Now this is variously known as a century egg, or a 100-year egg, sometimes a 1,000-year egg, or just preserved egg. 100-year-old eggs, they're not really 100 years old. They are a little older though. What they do is they take an egg, it's a duck egg actually, and they encase it in a mixture of lye and mineral clay. And what you end up with, once you've sort of left it there for 3 to 4 weeks, what you end up with is something that looks like that. What happens is the minerals actually permeate the and the lye. It permeates the egg. It actually has a chemical reaction that causes the white to firm up as well as the yolk, and it takes on this mineral quality. There's a certain funkiness to it. It's almost sort of like a cheese. There's a little bit of an ammonia smell to it, but what you get is a very soft custardy yolk that's kind of a grayish green in color, and that sort of ammoniac flavor and smell to it. So it is almost like a soft-boiled egg. It's something of an acquired taste, but I love it. Now, moving on to the other snacks. First one, these are ones that I've never had before. I just grabbed them at random and said, okay, I'm going to try these. First one is a fish tofu. Only tender tofu. Pick over good ingredients. Sure, I'm going to say basically only use the best ingredients. Now, I note on the back, the ingredients don't actually list tofu. It says fish tofu snack. Ingredients: fish soup, which I suppose might have tofu in it, vegetable oil, salt, starch, sugar, soy sauce, and spices. Missing something there, but whatever. Spices, now, they're showing, in the graphic anyway, what look like Thai chilies, and that looks like a star anise. I don't know. Tear into it and see what we get. Oh, they are individually packaged for your convenience. So if you only want one little piece, you can have that. Okay. At first, there's really not much of an aroma to it. Ooh, and it's quite moist. And it does not want to come out of the package. There we go. Okay. A square of what appears to be tofu. It smells like hot dogs, which is a little disconcerting, but I like hot dogs. I'm okay with tofu. I'm not thrilled about tofu, but there's a chili. Tastes a little of the star anise. It's got the texture of a hot dog too. So maybe it's mislabeled and it's actually a hot dog. I don't know. Yeah, it's got the heat. There's a little bit of a saltiness to it. I'm not sure it's, I mean, there's soy, but I think it said there was soy, right? Salt, sugar, soy sauce. Sugar, it doesn't taste sweet, so that might only be to balance out some sort of acidity or something. Not bad. Not my favorite, but not bad. This next one confuses me because it's got a picture of Psy on it doing Ganyang style. I don't know why. They are, from what I've been able to gather here, I think they are actually fried strips of gluten that are then, spiced. We have here, in like 1 point font, wheat flour, so there's your gluten, water, soybean oil, okay, chili, salt, spices. Says cinnamon, interesting, Szechuan pepper and cumin, and monosodium glutamate, okay, sucralose, turmeric, capsanthin. Capsanthin. I wonder if that's like capsaicin. I'm confused what Psy has to do with this. It's a Chinese product. But nothing for it but to try it. Oh, it's not resealable. Okay, so. Okay, dryer. So it's not as moist as the tofu snack. It's kind of leathery. I can definitely see the chili spices on it. I'm not sure what that's supposed to remind me of, but it's kind of like a strip of fish with the striations on it. I think that's just, I don't know, artistic license. I think they just formed it that way. That's really chewy. Okay, so it's gluten. There is definitely a sweetness, as well as a spiciness. The flavor kind of reminds me of Flamin' Hot Cheetos. It's tasty. The texture is good. Takes a little getting used to because it's very chewy, almost rubbery, spongy, really. Not really my favorite thing. It's sort of like if you were to find a way to make jerky out of bread. There is a certain breadiness to it that's different from anything else. I really would prefer if these were crisp, deep fried a little more. You're not eating this for its health benefits anyway, so I think it would have been better if it was fried. And lastly, something that kind of caught my eye, kelp. Crisp and spicy kelp. Crisp and smooth with chilies, delicious and juicy. So this is probably going to be moist as well. It's going to be wet. Seaweed and flavoring. Thanks. Salt, sugar, red pepper, spices, pepper. And then some food additives. From the picture, it's a fairly thick kelp. It's not like the nori that you use to wrap your sushi with, which is really kind of an algae. It's not really seaweed. This is almost like kombu, the seaweed that they use to make dashi for things like miso soup and things like that. So yeah, it's definitely moist in there. Again, individually packaged. So, fun size kelp. If you can consider the kelp to be fun. Okay, I'm just going to use this knife to dig some out of the packet. And like you would expect kelp to be, it's quite slippery. It is moist. It also has a bit of spice to it. which I guess it says it does. Red pepper, spices, salt, sugar. So the thing with kelp is it has a bit of an umami flavor to it already, which is why they use it and things like in dashi and other soups, bases. A lot of times kelp has a sort of iodine-y flavor. This is actually, and it may just be the spicing covers it up, but it's actually quite mild. You have a lot more flavor from the chilies and other spices, but there's something else to this. I'm not 100% sure what it is. It may very well be, they didn't say, but it may very well be that the kelp itself is smoked. They do that sometimes to kind of develop the flavor a bit more. It definitely has a sort of oceanic flavor to it, but a lot of that is covered up. It almost tastes like it has sesame oil, and all it just says is vegetable oil in this, but it almost tastes like it has a sesame oil in it. Not bad. So, for a snack, these were interesting. This is the sort of thing that I like to do. I'll just grab stuff and give it a try. And if I hate it, I don't have to buy it again. And I was only out, $3 for a package of whatever it was. These ones will actually last me for a while because they're individually packaged. But this is the sort of thing that I encourage you to do, is go down those grocery store aisles that you don't normally go down, like the ethnic aisles. And just start looking at stuff and seeing if there are ingredients that you've never heard of, if you've never tried, if you've heard of them but you never tried them before. If you don't pick it up right then, make a point of going home, researching it, find out what it's used for, and is it any good? Do people like it? Do people not like it? And the next time you see it, pick some up and give it a try. And if you hate it, like I said, you never have to try it again. But you may discover that it may become your next favorite thing. Now, I've grown up with Century eggs, so I've already developed a taste for them. If it's not your favorite thing, that's fine too. But you can say you tried it, and you've broadened your horizons just that little tiny bit. So, with that, I'd like to thank you for watching. Wish you a happy Thanksgiving, and I'll see you next time here on Recipe Redemption.